Hello and welcome to this edition of SFG Podcast for the Top Performance. With me today is Scott Goetz and Mike King from the Feed Department. My name's Mark White. We'll talk a little bit about some grain things. First of all, I'd kind of like to know where these global warming people are. It seems like they need to start talking again because it's sure nothing but cold weather here right before Easter. We're doing this on the Thursday prior to Easter, so 40 degrees just don't seem like corn planting weather, and probably won't be for another week, it appears, with the forecast. But while we're talking about that, the grain markets continue to show strength, and there's several factors involved here. The war, of course, in Ukraine, even though it's been going on for a couple months, but it still is headline news. And not only is it affecting their ability to export what they had from last harvest, but it's definitely going to impact how much they can get planted for this year's crop. The war's not going on clear across the country, of course, and a lot of the farm country is sort of immune from it, you might say, but they're not immune from the supply issues of fuel, fertilizer, and transportation. Those are the three big items that are affecting the people in that country. So that continues to be a problem. China has been back in the marketplace here of late. They bought some pretty good corn shipments, and when they buy, it's usually 40 million bushel at a crack, so you put 2 or 3 of them together and that really helps the bottom line. This morning they announced they had bought beans again from the U.S., and even though South America is on the cheaper side of both today, they continue to come back here because we're the reliable supplier. They know they can get it timely from us. And of course, this cool, wet weather, it definitely is too early to talk weather delayed planting, even though there's some of that talk going on. And part of that, once we get going anymore, we can plant 50% of the corn in this country in a week or less. And so, a month from now, yeah, it's a major issue, but if we can get going here the next couple of weeks, I don't think it'll affect us too much. The domestic demand remains good. Cattle and hog numbers are both still on the high side, so they're taking a lot of feed. Ethanol has been a very good thing. It's profitable. The plants are making money. And the president's announcement this week that he would allow E15 through the summer will add some more gallons of ethanol getting out there. So those are all good things. Beans, they've kind of shown a great recovery in the last 2 weeks. We go back to March 31 report, it was pretty bearish, the bean market, when they announced that they thought we'd plant 91 million acres of beans. That's a huge number. Never done that before. And maybe it's going to be larger now, as things go on. But since that time, in the last 2 weeks, we've put more than $1 back on the new and old crop. They kind of bottomed out the 1st of April, the day after the report, and they've steadily went back up since then. So we're really trading above what they were worth on the pre-report time frame. Meanwhile, corn, the old crop's put on 40 cents in the last 2 weeks. New crop's up 50 cents. So local new crop prices are inching towards $7. We're not quite there, but we could be in another day or two the way things are going. You've rarely had an opportunity to price $7 new crop corn in April. Matter of fact, I don't know if I can remember a time we could do that. It's just pretty outlandish price. Not that you're going to make a huge profit if you're buying your inputs today, but for those that had the inputs bought last fall, or most of them, it's a great opportunity to put in a pretty good profit margin. And yeah, it could easily go higher, but you're not going to sell it all at one time anyway, so it's a good place to get started. Meanwhile, beans are back in that 14, 30, 40 range local for fall. Quite a place to start some sales if you haven't already. If you go back to the old saying, the 2.5 ratio between corn and beans, right now, if you looked at new crop corn in the 690 and beans at 1440, that's a 2.09 ratio. That with the old standard, that would lean heavily toward corn being your your crop of choice. But maybe some things have changed with that. We need to update that number just a little bit because of the input cost, and it has a bigger effect on corn than it does beans. Now, where some guys get maybe confused a little or don't do it right, beans take fertilizer. Typically the farmer puts the fertilizer on a 2-year spread ahead of corn, so the corn gets charged for the fertilizer. But you've got to give some cost of that to the bean crop the following year to be equitable between both of them. But all in all, with the nitrogen inputs and whatnot, corn is going to cost you a lot more per acre percentage-wise than beans. So just something to think about. If you got some questions, feel free to call any of us here in the locations that have grain, and we'll be more than happy to discuss some options with you. With that, I'll turn it over to Scott. He's going to talk about some feed.
All right. Thanks, Mark. So, like Mark said, spring's kind of off to a rocky start. Seems like the warm weather's having a hard time catching a hold. But on a positive note, we've got some farmers in the field first of this week. Rain kind of shut them down a little bit yesterday, but I think they'll be going again this afternoon probably. Quite a bit of seeding's gotten done around Milo here earlier this week. And now is the time to be getting fly and mag mineral out in front of your cows. It's hard to believe, but flies are out, and if flies are out, that means that they'll be laying eggs. Mag mineral should be out now. Grass is struggling to grow, but it is greened up good, and if we can get some temperatures on it, I think it'll take right off and grow. So feeding a high mag tub or mineral is a small price to pay for some peace of mind concerning grass tetany. I've seen some cows out on pasture this week. Be careful turning out early like this. Overgrazing can be detrimental to a pasture later in the season. With the high costs of feed and supplements, I think we need to do everything we can to maintain grazing throughout the summer. This might mean fertilizer, weed control, or rotating more often. All these things can extend our grazing. Maybe you don't normally creep your calves. This might be a good year to consider it. By creeping your calves, you can help extend your grazing, and you can also focus that expense towards something that's going to generate an income. You can let your cows eat the cheap grass, and you can feed your calves. I think Mike might be going to talk a little bit more about the economics of creep feed now. So with that, I want to say thank you for your business, and I hope everybody has a safe spring. And what you got, Mike?
Okay. Guys, worming cows, ideally you'd like to have them out on pasture for 30 days before you worm them, and your first question is, how do I do it? Well, that's the ideal time to do it. We have the Safeguard crumbles, and a 25-pound bag will do 20 cows, and your cost per cow is $3.48, and you're going to cover all the worms. Best thing to do is mix it with a little bit of ground corn, coarse ground corn, and put it out there. If you're going to run them through the chute, of course, you can use the Safeguard drench. But ideally, please wait till they've been out on pasture for 30 days if you can. And this will take care of them until after the hard freeze. Fly mineral, as Scott said, it's time to get the mineral out there, guys, right now, and don't quit it till after the hard freeze. And we can get you any mineral with any type of fly control in it. You just got to order 2 ton. Just to give you some cost options, garlic is strictly a repellent, but they don't like the smell of it, and we've had good success. So it runs about 2 cents a cow a day for the garlic. Clarify gets all the flies, and it runs about 4 cents a cow a day. Raybon does the same thing as Clarify. It's about 6 cents a cow a day. And the IGR or Alticid gets the horn flies only, but it's about 3 cents a cow a day. So there's your different options. Fescue Mineral, if you need it, Kent and Hubbard both have a true Fescue Mineral where the product actually binds the endophyte and removes it from the cow so she doesn't get hot and get bred. So most of the competitors don't have a true binder. They have a product that actually just lowers body temperature. So most guys, if you're fighting fescue, be sure that you talk to us about what a true fescue mineral is. So creep feeds, as Scott mentioned, we're ready to go on creep feeds. You can rent the creep feeders from us if you need them. I talked about creep feed economics here, I think, last time. But it's still, if you're trying to mix your own creep feed on the farm with corn and oats or soy hull pellets and gluten, or if you have us make a third mix, the pelleted creep feed is still a lower cost. And the other thing is your feed efficiency is huge. About a 5-to-1 on a pelleted creep, no fines in the bottom of the creep feeder to cause bloats. And so it's the way to go. So give us a call and we can help you with that. One last thing, kind of bring you up to date on the cattle thing. Right now, just the other day, 500 to 600 pound steers were bringing 1,100 a piece. 600 to 700 pounders were bringing 1,150, and 700 to 800 pounders were bringing about 1,200 a piece. So finally, guys getting a halfway decent price, which that's what they should be all the time anyway. But at least you're getting something for your hard work. I talked about feeding cattle before. And 600 pounders at $1.90, $7 corn, yardage, interest, all your costs based on a 3-4 daily gain from 600 to 1,500. The break even was $1.33, and so there was opportunity there to lock in a pretty good profit. If we go from $7 corn to $8 corn, that brings our break even almost up to $1.40. But just to give you some idea. So thank goodness if you've got calves to sell, they're bringing money. If you want to sit here and say, you know, can I buy cattle or can I take them all the way out? It gives you some idea where you need to be based on the price of corn. So I want to thank you for your business and hope you'll give us a call, talk to us about creep, and get those fly minerals out, get ahead of the game. So again, thank you for your business and call us anytime.
Well, thanks, Scott and Mike. I appreciate all the good information there on the cow-calf guys. It's pretty important in this area. That wraps up this edition of the Top Performance Podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you.